Greetings. Thanks for joining me for this week's Fireside Chat. It's good to be back with you. And thanks again for the ongoing support of our work at Xavier. I appreciate especially the notes that arrive each week by email or handwritten notes. They're always uplifting. Two jump out this week. Tom Draper of the class of 44. So Tom would have graduated 76 years ago. Sent a nice note in remembrance of Bill Boyan and their last time together at the Golden Knights gathering. And these are two of the great men of Xavier. And Tom's recollections were another reminder of the connections between the years and the connections we have to one another. And then Bill Lutterer of the class of 66 sent a lovely gift, the kindness of folks. Bill lost his son, Benjamin. Benjamin was 30 years old and was one of the early victims of COVID-19. He was a baseball coach, he was a teacher, he was a dad. And Bill sent a gift to Xavier in support of our families affected by COVID-19 and did that in memory of his son. And it's one of those gifts that pay tribute to so many folks. It pays tribute to Benjamin. It pays tribute to Bill in his generosity, in his goodness, in his way of seeing the world. And it pays tribute to Xavier, that someone like Bill continues to support that work and sees it as worthy and good. So I commend Bill and Benjamin to your prayers as we continue to pray for all affected by COVID-19. It's not my normal Fireside Chat garb, and it's certainly not normal Xavier dress code or presidential dress code, even in the midst of this. But today is one of those great weeks of Xavier High School, those great weeks at Xavier High School. And truth be told, I haven't had many bad weeks. I don't know that I have any bad weeks as president of Xavier. At least weeks that I haven't found to be really filled with grace and goodness, even in the midst of complication. Today is the last day of senior classes. And in recent years, the tradition is students wear college garb, right? One sign of their transition, one sign of what lies ahead. So even though we're in distance learning, we invited students and faculty to do the same today. Now, I couldn't find any college garb that represents a school I studied at or actually took a degree from, but I did, and I suspect a lot of parents out there are in the same boat. I could find college garb for the schools my children were at. I have JMU socks that I'm wearing. John, our oldest, is a JMU grad. I have my Georgetown sweatshirt where Rebecca is a sophomore. I have my Santa Clara cross-country hat. And as folks know, Christian, who's class of 16 from Xavier, is a senior at Santa Clara. And graduation's postponed, but he continues to work hard on senior design project and other work. The Santa Clara Georgetown sweatshirts are an invitation into a larger picture, if you will. Georgetown's our oldest Jesuit school. Archbishop John Carroll invited the Jesuits to open Georgetown in 1789, and everything has followed. Santa Clara is the first college in California, and then the first Catholic college, and great missionary tradition out there. Both Jesuit communities have been very kind to me. The Jesuits at Santa Clara opened their doors to me 4 years ago when Christian arrived. I've stayed with them many times. Father Art, their rector, has become a good friend, and the community is most welcoming. And I was with the Georgetown Jesuit community a few months back now, and I'd say the same for them. Tremendous welcome and tremendous engagement in the life of both universities. And this transition day is really a reminder for me that we're part of something bigger, right? The work is bigger. It doesn't stop here. We send people forth. We send the class of 2020 forth. They're going out, right? Greg Boyle, a few years back when he was speaking here, said, Xavier's not so much a place you come to, it's a place you go from, because there are things to be done. In the words of the mission statement, there's a world to transform. More modern language, right? The Society of Jesus and her partners in the work have been in discernment for the last few years, going back a number of years now, about preferences, and 4 universal apostolic preferences, right? To help folks find a way to God. The spiritual exercises, helping us understand God more intimately, more lovingly, and understand God's love for us more lovingly. Right? To accompany those on the margins, to accompany youth into a hope-filled future, and to care for our common home. Right? When we send people forth to do those things, to make those things real, to live out those preferences. That's where the transformation happens. Right? Because our work exists in the life of the Society of Jesus, in the life of the church, in our world, right? Dynamically engaged in that world. Last week would have been the Brooklyn Prep Dinner. I think I mentioned that last week. And but again, something bigger. Brooklyn Prep closed in 1972. And each year since, those alums have gathered for Mass and dinner. And each year since, with great generosity, they support the work of Jesuit education in the province, and they support the work of Xavier High School. When BP was open, we didn't have a ton of Brooklyn kids here. That's hard for folks who were here in the 70s, 80s, 90s now to believe, right? There are a ton of Brooklyn kids, a ton of Queens kids. 40s, 50s, 60s, not nearly as many, right? Because they were at BP. Closing of BP presented new opportunities here, and the work continues. But the BP alums didn't pack up their ball and go home, didn't say we're done, understood the work is bigger than us, understood that they were out in the world, and they may not have a responsibility to BP, but they had a responsibility and have a responsibility, which they live in profound ways. Responsibility to the work of Jesuit education. Sustaining that, encouraging that, supporting that. Father Dan Fitzpatrick, who was a scholastic here in the early 60s, a BP grad, is the moderator of the Brooklyn Prep Alumni Association. And there are a host of connections with guys who support the work now, family connections. Mike Hummerford, his brother Frank, was on the board with me years back. I was president of the BPAA a while ago. Andy Lucas, Brian Duffy, so many folks, right, who continue to support BP and by extension support us. So, the work's bigger than us. And we have constant examples of that, even in difficult times. We have the example of Bill Lutterer. We have the inspiration of Tom Draper. We have the BP guys like Gene Leiden or Ralph Massia or Frank Torres, Jack Barry, who continue to support the work. We have the seniors of the class of 2020, who in the midst of these COVID complications, right, did not want to end their senior year at Xavier like this. Yet they've continued to work hard. They've continued to support one another. They've continued to encourage the faculty. And hopefully in these days ahead, we can continue to celebrate them. Because they are young men who will continue to go forth from Xavier. Young men we are happy to send out into the world to live the mission, to make the transformation real. We all have helped make that possible. And I'm grateful to each of you for your part in making it possible. Thank you. Sons of Xavier, keep marching.